but that's just a quick look. Let's do this. I want you to go to this site. If you haven't registered for it, you should register for it. This is a great data interactive tool that I'm going to teach you now. And it's a really useful tool for some of the stuff we've already been working on. So it's called Flourish.studio. It's a free tool from Google. If you haven't, I encourage you to go here now, see if you can log in with your Gmail. If you can't, then register yourself for the site. Again, it's free. I'm going to sign in and show you some things in Google Flourish. And I love this tool. It's terrific. So I will log in with my Google. Oh, I'm already logged in. So here we go. So what I'm going to do is give you a little tour of this free tool, Google Flourish. And I'm going to use some of these data sets that I have still in my folder. So I'll probably use this BLOS Excel data again in Google Flourish. So think about the BLOS data. We have 50 states represented, different percentage change in BLOS. So I'm going to hit New Visualization in Google Flourish. I'm just going to scroll down and you'll see what our choices are. So tell me if one of these might be useful for showing our BLOS data. And there are lots and lots of choices. They have heat maps, dot distributions, bar graphs, line graphs, pie graphs. So let me pick a column chart first. I just clicked on column chart. And what it does is Google Flourish is pre-populated with data. So here's a sample column chart. If I click on the word data up here near the top, it's going to show me its data. Now this data is generic. It doesn't represent anything. Google Flourish just has data plugged into every one of these so that it's got something to preview. And I'll show you why. I'm going to go down and delete a row or two of data and watch this preview. These columns are going to drop off as I go down here and delete stuff. So I'm just going to right click here and hit remove row. And you'll see down here in the preview, the columns dropping off as I do that. So, so it just pre-populates it with some data so that it can give you a preview so you see what it looks like. What I want to do is load my data in here. So I'm going to go up here under the data tab. There's a preview tab and a data tab. I'm going to click data and upload data. And in my downloads, I have BLOS. So I'll click BLOS and import. And this is important. It asks, is this public data? In which case, this will be shareable. Whatever you build, your bar graph, your line graph, whatever your interactive is, it's shareable publicly if your data is public. This data is public. It was from an article that I read that was published in a newspaper. I created this data set myself, so it's perfectly fine to share this. So I'm going to say import publicly. If you have private data, you can still build an interactive in Flourish, but you can't share it. It won't let you get an embed code or a link to share it. All right, so my data is imported, and look, you can see my preview down here in the bottom right corner changed dramatically. It's got 50 vertical lines, 50 columns instead of 7 or 8 that it had before. Now select the columns. This is to assign location and label data. So not location. On this one, labels are state. And so over here, column A looks like labels. And then my data is in column B. So values in B, it looks like I'm all set. I'll show you what happens. I can go over here to values and change it to C. I don't have a column C, but my data goes away on the preview. So this preview down here right away tells you if there's a problem with what you're doing, but I'll put B in here and hit tab or space, and there's my data. So I'm gonna go to preview and take a look. I can hover over these states and get the data. So I've built a data interactive just like that. Now, a couple things about this one. I don't like that South Dakota, for some reason, is just loitering out here by itself. I can fix that. I'm gonna go back to data, and up here next to B, where my data is, there's a little pull down. I'm gonna click there and hit sort A to Z. Now, I'm sorting a column of numbers, not letters. So A to Z will be lowest to highest. If I sorted this one A to Z, it would alphabetize my states. So I could do it that way, sort A to Z, but now my lines are gonna be all over the place. Look, now they're kind of bouncing all over. I don't like that. What I'd like is to sort data A to Z, because what I want is, I want to be able to glance and go, which states have a real problem with BLOS? And now I can do that. Oklahoma's at the top, 63%. We know Massachusetts is up there. There's Illinois, Rhode Island. Massachusetts was over 50. So a bunch of states are 60% change in bee loss in 1 year. So this was a real problem a few years ago. It's gotten better since. And then we'll go look and see Texas is right in the middle, 40 something, 46.3 is Texas. What else could I do with this data?
One of those, is that a heat map? Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, that one's a heat map. How about US states heat map? Good call. All right, let's try that one. So a couple things. This is gonna load and preview. So I have my states. You see Idaho, Montana, North Dakota. By the way, it has numbers in there. It has values in there already. Again, that's just throw down default data from Flourish. Every preview, including maps, has some data in it. If you look, the data doesn't mean anything. It's just random numbers that they put in here by these states. So here's my preview. The other thing is this has some cities on it. So it's got Chicago, New York, Philly. These cities are on here, and I don't need those. I'm not going to use the cities for this particular visualization because I don't have city level data. I only have state data. So you want to adjust a couple of things with this map before you bring in your data. First one is I want to get rid of these cities. That's called the points layer. So let me just open points layer and turn it off. I'm just going to hit disabled and my dots went away. If you have, by the way, column C is state value, column C is city value, you could totally do that and just have that value in here. And if you look, there are two data sets loaded on this visualization. One is regions, states, that's the one I want. But if I click on points, look, I have longitude and latitude data for all these different cities. So that's available. Again, I'm not going to use the points layer because I don't have longitude, latitude data. I don't have city data. Just going to concentrate on regions, which in this case is states. So here's my preview. What I want to do is replace this data with my bee data. Now, let me do something else first. Look at my bee loss data. What do you notice about how the states are stacked? Are they alphabetical?
No.
So let me do this without changing anything on that data set. I'm just going to import my data. So let me hit upload data, and I'm going to go upload bee loss. And take a close look at this column A, which is geometry. Remember the points data, the cities had longitude, latitude? That's pretty specific location data. That's what column A is. So I'm going to bring in bee loss data, and I'm going to, I'll do 2 because I think that's the one I have open. Import publicly, 51 rows. Geometry, I want state name. So I'm going to pick A, and then name will also be A, which is the state. Value is going to be B. And here's my preview. The map doesn't work. So here's my interactive map with the data I imported. Now the reason is, I'll show you why, I blew out column A geometry, which Flourish needs to draw the state lines. I just want to show you this because it's a trap built into Flourish. Not a problem. I'm going to go back. I'll go down and pick my US states heat map, and then I'm going to go look at my data. So I want to keep column A. I want to bring my state B data into column C, but let's take a look through column B because right now there are two problems. This is alphabetized, but my data is not. So let's make my data alphabetized. This is pretty easy. I can basically highlight this section and go to data sort, and I'm going to select column A to Z, and now my data is alphabetized. So let me resave that. It's called BLOS XL2. This is now in alphabetical order. I always like to do a check with data, whether I'm working in pivot tables or writing an article or doing a Flourish. So I look for a couple of states for reference. So let's see, Alabama's 48. Pick one in the middle. Maryland is 60.9. Wyoming is 41.1. So when I get my data in Flourish, I want to make sure those numbers match. So let me highlight Wyoming. Then I'll go up to the top and select Alabama. I'm just going to copy this column. Now let me go to Flourish, highlight the first column of C and the last column of C, and paste. 48.1 should be Wyoming. Let's see, I don't even see Wyoming. It's up here somewhere. So Wyoming isn't right. Maryland should be 60.9, Maryland's 47.7, so that didn't work. The reason it didn't work, let me undo, is this data set in Flourish has some foibles to it. There are 4 non-states in this data. Again, this might be a really useful map for you to use. I just want to show you, if you're going to do a US heat map, you have to fix a few things first. Let me scroll down. District of Columbia is not a state, so I'm going to remove that row. There was one other around here, and then there are 2 at the bottom. Puerto Rico. I've been to DC and Puerto Rico, love both. And then at the very bottom, Guam and US Virgin Islands. I think I can highlight both of those at once and remove those rows. Okay, now I'm at 51, which is right. That matches up the number of states. But now I need to make sure this is sorted alphabetically. So I'm going to sort column A to Z. It should now end with Wyoming. Okay, it does. That's more like it. So I hope you understood what I did there. I removed 4 rows that weren't states. I alphabetized column B. Now I'm going to paste my alphabetized data into column C. So I'll select the first row. The last row, I'm going to hold Shift and then paste. Now Wyoming is 41, excellent. Maryland is 60.9, excellent. And it was 48.1 for Alabama, perfect. So now we have an accurate visualization where we can go around here and look at the different states. Again, there's Wyoming 41.1, it's just right. So I just want to show you, you can do this and it's not that hard. And again, if you do it during lab, when you have stories due like next week, if somebody wants to do this as a data visualization, I'll help you with these little pitfalls built into Flourish. But if you've ever used Tableau, Flourish is actually a lot easier than Tableau. I've used both and I really like this. The last thing I'll change is BLOS is kind of serious business, right? So points layer I don't need, I'm going to turn that off, but let me open regions layer and just scroll down. And is there something I could do to make this look more urgent, more serious? Yes, I can go to palette and change palette from blues to reds or oranges. Now it looks more serious. So the darker states are more severe BLOS, up over 60%. So now we've got a really nice heat map. Last thing I'll do is I'll put this, let's see, I'm gonna give it a title. It will auto save. I'm going to go home again, and this is neat because now what I want to do is create a story. So I'm going to hit new story. This is the last thing you can do in Flourish, again for free. And I'm going to go over here and select a visualization. So let me click that one, and I'll put vertical lines. That was the one we made earlier. Okay, great. There's our vertical lines. I'm going to click new slide, choose a visualization. This is a lot like adding slides to a PowerPoint. BLOS map, which I just built. Okay, and look up here, I've got right and left arrows. So I can click left, and there's our vertical line. If I scroll down a little, you'll see the states. Here's all the interactivity if I hover over it. Hit the right arrow, and it takes me to my map with that data. And I can then share this. So what I can do is export and publish. And it gives me embed code or a website that I can then copy and paste into my, again, my WordPress page. And it keeps all this interactivity. So I can copy it and share it just like that, stick it in our class website, and it keeps the left arrow, the right arrow, the hover over, all of that goes along with this data interactive automatically when you use Google Flourish. So that was, it's a little complicated, but you can go in there and experiment and kind of figure stuff out. The map part especially, you just have to remember you can't mess with longitude, latitude data or that geometry column over to the left. You have to keep those and work around them, but you can usually make it work.